Nobody even asked a question. My final request of Jake Tapper would be this. Where is all of your reporting? You had access to the White House. Why didn't you have the chief of staff on your show? Why didn't you ask this when you had Joe Biden on? Why didn't you ask the White House Correspondents Association why they're not asking questions of Joe Biden's aptitude and mental fitness? They did nothing, Piers. Nothing.
In this video, Benny Johnson joins a panel of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Benny Johnson talks about Jake Tapper's new book and the Biden health cover-up, as well as his role in it. With that, let's watch Benny Johnson crush Jake Tapper.
The system could get tweaked in America to avoid this happening again.
First, I mean, you are right. And as much as I'm an America lover, there is no way that a prime minister in the UK or really anywhere in New Zealand or I mean, there's no way this could happen because of not only question time on Sundays, but also because you don't have the incredibly strong executive mold that we have in the United States. Your parties are stronger. Your parliament is stronger than we have in the United States. And while, you know, this is the system we have, it also means that if Keir Starmer were to show evidence of cognitive decline, whoever's his number two would be right there saying something's going on with Keir Starmer, and like the party would step in and force him to step down. No offense to Prime Minister Starmer. I'm just using it as an example. But there's no way it would happen. We need to do something in the United States. I don't think you could do anything and pass any law that would affect the current president. That's just not how our legislature works. But our personal view, Alex and myself, is that the health requirements and disclosures should be mandated by law and have to be presented under threat of perjury by the White House physician. Not just summaries of health records, but all the health records. This is the most powerful position in the world, elected position, and the public has every right to know what's going on with the health of their president. That's the only solution we can think of, because we're not going to adopt a parliamentary republic system, but I think that could be at least helpful.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, great to talk to you guys. Jake, Alex, I love the book, Original Sin. You don't need me to promote it. It's a runaway bestseller, but I think you've done a great public service here. I think it had to be told, this story. You've told it in pretty gruesome, shocking detail, but it had to be told. And there was just a gigantic cover-up at the American people's expense. And I guess the only worst thing could have been if he'd actually got away with it and been re-elected. And I think that is just, thank God he wasn't, frankly. And that's no disrespect to Biden personally, but I think that would have been a total disaster for him and for his family and for America. Guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I'd like to think that Donald Trump would have beaten Joe Biden soundly in that last election had Joe run. But think how demented and power hungry the Democrat establishment is that's around Joe Biden. They knew full well that the man was not with it anymore. And because they care so much about power, they didn't tell the American people. Here's the crazy thing, though. They keep calling it a cover-up, but everyone knew that was honest with themselves that Joe Biden wasn't there anymore. I mean, the decline started before he even ran for president in 2020. We were calling him Sleepy Joe. I guess I'm being petty because it's almost like I want every one of these news networks to say all conservatives were right, because we've been screaming it and they've been saying conspiracy theory. And then they always go, well, I'd like to know about Trump's cognitive blah, 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 just like they do with everything else. But I feel like everyone's pretending this is a secret. We just found out it's not. We knew. And so did the Democrats, just using their eyes. They might not have admitted it, but now, why aren't they saying, wow, the right wing was correct the whole time? Well, it's mainstream liberal news media, but you know what I mean? God, how can you just lie so blatantly, be proven wrong, and just have so little integrity to go on TV and say, wow, we were wrong about this, they were right. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Thank you, Piers. Appreciate it. Great to be here.
Thanks, guys. Well, joining me now to debate all this is the host of The Benny Show, Benny Johnson, and the former Democratic mega donor and commentator Lindy Lee, and Julia Michaels, host of the Keeping It Real podcast, and from the Adam Mockler Show on Midas Touch Media. Adam Mockler, he'll be joining us a little later. So, Benny Johnson, your thoughts on this? It seems to me that this book is a dynamite book. It has an extraordinary number of revelations. I've heard out Jake and Alex explaining why. I don't think they're trying to hide the fact that the media dropped the ball, and they were part of that ball dropping. But are you as convinced or not?
Dropped the ball. It's like, it's very polite of you, Piers. You're so very polite. You're exactly right. British press would never have stood for this. And, clearly it's important to hold our leaders into account. You see the French president getting completely bitch slapped today on live TV. I couldn't believe that. It's the job of the press to ask tough questions and to do so without favoritism. Here would be my question for Jake, and I'm so sad I didn't get a chance to be on live with Jake here, Piers. Maybe we can set that up next time. Why? Why didn't you ask these questions before Joe Biden was already in the dumpster heap of history? Where were your balls, Jake Tapper? Where did they go exactly for the last 4 years? During this time, Jake Tapper had a very successful CNN show. Jake Tapper was on live every single night on CNN, which we are told is the most powerful name in news, while Joe Biden was falling ass backwards down the stairs of Air Force One, while Joe Biden was falling flat on his face on a stage during a commencement address to the American Military Naval Academy, while Joe Biden couldn't find his way out of an exit, couldn't find his own words, was making up words in the English language, while Joe Biden was suicidally surrendering in Afghanistan and getting American service members killed, something we should remember this week. Where were you exactly? Can you please explain why you didn't lead your show every single night with the topic of Joe Biden's cognitive decline and potential elder abuse? And, oh, by the way,
if you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Joe Biden has a terminal illness. This is something that nobody wishes on anyone. Nobody is celebrating this at all. However, it's the biggest political bombshell story in modern American history that the president has had prostate cancer, terminal prostate cancer, Mets to the bone. It's awful. Nobody wishes that on anyone, but it happened, and not a single journalist at CNN was able to uncover that story. Nobody even asked a question. My final request of Jake Tapper would be this. Where is all of your reporting? You had access to the White House. Why didn't you have the chief of staff on your show? Why didn't you ask this when you had Joe Biden on? Why didn't you ask the White House Correspondents Association why they're not asking questions of Joe Biden's aptitude and mental fitness? They did nothing, Piers. Nothing. So Jake Tapper is part of the cover-up, period. I'm glad that he's making money after the fact. Good for you. You were able to throw Joe Biden in the trash bin when it was convenient. Now you're making piles of cash for doing the exact same thing that we've all been doing for 4 years. The end.
Well, my one question for you, Ben, it was a great rant, by the way. My one question to you before I move to the others is, if it had been Donald Trump in the same position, would you have been honest? Be honest now. Would you have been leading the charge in the way you've just described?
Yes. The answer is absolutely yes. Because I am oh, absolutely. Oh, yes.
Yeah, Benny caught what I did right off the bat when Piers said how the media dropped the ball in the U.S. It's not dropping the ball if you're aware of it. And maybe I've been conflating Biden's cognitive decline and his physical health. Maybe when they're talking about the cover-up, they're more talking about the physical health. But I still think they're one and the same. But I echo everything that Benny said. I don't wish that on anyone, even Joe Biden and all the things he's done wrong, but I don't wish that on him, and it is not happy news, but it is one of the biggest scandals in presidential history, and instead, the news networks are all talking about what they don't like about Trump. The health cover-up is a story. They have to cover it, but just like Benny said, why wasn't it a lead story all the time? So now that we know about it, and it was a cover-up, which is an enormous story, I promise it's like a tenth of coverage on mainstream liberal media. They, just like the cover-up, they're downplaying it. I think they're hoping it goes away. And of course, the Democrat Party is too. I mean, can the Democrats do anything right at this point? They go visit Abrego Garcia. People laugh at them. They go to ICE detention centers and fight with federal agents. They cover up a president's health to stay in power. And now they try to downplay. You sort of say that it's just, we all know this, but it's just frustrating anyone that still supports that side. I just have to say, like, do you hold them accountable at all? Anyway, let's wrap up video.
First off, Piers, you're close friends with Donald Trump. Do you believe that Donald Trump has problems with his energy levels? Answer that question.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm not
see
suggesting
anything
for a moment. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm simply
Piers,
saying that
I'm telling you
I'm simply saying if it was
as a
flipped
matter
the
of
other way-
morality,
I think that
if President Trump was
hypothetically-
falling, if
Yeah,
President
well,
Trump
would
was
you have
falling on
met
his
the
face,
charge?
totally. If President Trump was falling on his face and couldn't stand and couldn't speak and was slurring his words and was calling a lid at 1 p.m., that's why I asked you about Trump's energy. You know, I'm turning 39 tomorrow. Donald Trump has probably 4 or 5x the amount of energy that I have. He's twice my age. I don't know how he does it. But if this was happening to President Trump as a patriot, as a moral person, you know, so step back and remove politics from it, Piers. As a moral person, do you think someone should be treated and abused the way that Joe Biden's been abused?
No,
Another point I've talked about for a while, Benny just hit on there. I think at first when people threw around elder abuse, they were kind of joking. But I've thought it the entire time. I mean, these people that kept him in power, including his wife, the guy doesn't have a clue what's going on, and they're trolling him out there. Take out the fact that it's Joe Biden. Just think of it as an elderly person. You wouldn't want that treatment for anyone. It's kind of cruel, frankly. But we want to hear from you. What do you think about Jake Tapper? What do you think about his playing both sides of this Biden health cover-up? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.